I've been thinking, how do the laws get found when they don't know where to go? And I've been shaking, not many more twists and turns before I find the road. And I've been hoping for sun.
Welcome to the Purpose Podcast of Dr. Jazz, where I'm your host, Dr. Jazz, and we journey to purpose together. As you all know, this is season 4, so I'm so excited. Where at the beginning of the season, we were talking to college students and talking about how they matriculated through college and how that helped them find their purpose. And now we're talking to people who are working on their purpose within their occupation. So I'm so excited about this transition at this point within the season. And whatever you're doing, stop right now, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. You actually can leave us text messages now. I don't really know how it works, but let's just see how it works. Send me a text message. We'll see what happens. So let's get started with today's episode. With me right now, I have Miss Sabrina. How are you, Miss Sabrina?
I am very good. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited that you are here. So as you all know, we're gonna read Miss Sabrina's bio, and we're just gonna jump right in with our first question. So Sabrina is a counselor and author of Not Good Enough, Understanding Your Core Belief and Anxiety, a handbook. She facilitates workshops designed to improve mental health and to help develop personal growth and connection. Sabrina's presentations are informative and easy to understand, whether you're looking for mental health workshops for a corporation, small business, service provider, or community organization. Her presentations will provide insight in mental health. Sabrina's workshops are practical and easy to apply in everyday life. And as usual, if you want her contact information, it will be in the show notes. So just go there and you'll find them. Okay, welcome, Miss Sabrina. And I know I added a handle. I'm from the South. I'm raised by Southern parents. I can't. You're gonna be Miss Sabrina. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, great. I don't know how to do it any other way. I try, but it don't work. So I'm gonna put a handle on it. All right, Miss Sabrina. So as you know, the first question is always, what does purpose mean to you? So what does purpose mean to you?
So I listened to a couple of your podcasts and knew that that was one of the questions. So yeah, I really took some time and thought about it because yeah, I know what my passion is, but I thought, well, what's my purpose and what's the difference between the two? And so what I've kind of come up with is my purpose is what I can give or what I can offer to others through the use of my passion.
Ooh, I like that. So what I can give or what I can what to others? What was the second
What
part?
I can give or offer to others.
Or offer
So it's
to
kind of like
others.
the result or the impact of my passion.
I love that. So are you, as a mental health professional, uh, do you find people come to your office a lot looking for their purpose or looking for their passion? And how do you help them through that?
I think almost sadly, when people come to me, they're not even worried about their purpose or their passion
Mm.
yet. They're still just trying to figure out who they are.
Oh,
They're trying to
wow.
get through the day a lot of the times, let alone looking for their purpose or their passion. So that's more kind of an end goal in counseling.
Oh, wow. So what's the end goal? To find themselves or to find their purpose?
Well, once you find yourself, then I think you can explore more of what your purpose is and figure out what is your meaning? Why are you here?
That is so interesting that without knowing myself, from what I'm hearing you say with your patients, without knowing myself, I can't know my purpose or my passion.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think that's true a lot of the times. And I would say for a lot of people, they may even think they know what their passion is, but because they don't really know who they are, as they work through things and figure out more who they are, their passion changes.
Oh, okay. And what they can
Hmm.
offer the world, because also going back to your definition, I can't offer the world something that I'm not.
That's right.
So if I'm not, this is a good episode for me. I'm gonna leave here healed. Okay, so so if I that's so good. So if I think I am one person or think that I am one thing, my passion may be here and I'm offering that into the world. But then as I go through counseling and I come meet you and I get rid of my anxiety and I work through my depression, I kind of become a truer. because I don't want to say that wasn't you, but a truer version of myself. And those passions change, and then what I can offer into the world changes.
And I think even if the passion stays the same, it's going to feel more genuine and more real.
Oh, wow. That is so good. I'm seeing you have some, you have more thoughts.
Well, I was just going to say a lot of people spend their whole life trying to be what they think other people want them to be. So I'm trying to be what my friends want, what my partner wants, what my mom wants, what my dad wants, what my coaches want, what my teachers want. That's all time I'm not figuring out who I want to be. So my passion isn't really based on what I am and who I am. My passion is based on what I think other people's think I should have my passion. So part of what I'm doing in my model of therapy is helping people let go of that and really just figure out who do I want to be for myself. Then once you've got to that place, then it's like, okay, now what? What do you want? What do you have to offer this world that we live in? How can you make a difference? How can you make an impact? But you have
I'm
to know who you are to do that.
I'm looking like that. If you're not watching this on YouTube, I've been making a face the whole time because I'm like, that is so real. I think I'm just like thinking about my own life and how I do that. It wasn't until my like full adulthood when I realized I was doing a lot of things because I was a wise and like my family, and which is a good thing. I got a lot of sense of purpose and like identity from my family, but it wasn't until recently where I was like, girl, you are more than just, representing your family and what I wouldn't say recently, adulthood, post college, grad school, or whatever, that I had to be like, no, you are more than just a wife. So that's so good when you said that, because I often think about the people who helped raise me, even when I make decisions today. Like, even though I don't even talk to these people, and like how what I think their opinion will be leads and guides me today. That's hard.
It is. It's very challenging for sure.
That is so hard to figure. What else? Can you tell me more about myself? Because this is just, I'm just thinking through, like, even when it comes to my purpose, I think a part of coming to grips with it was this is not the path that you thought you were going down, or the path that was carved for you, or the path that seemed right. Do you come across that as well in your work?
For sure. I think the point that you said about, you get a lot of your values and stuff from your family. So it's then taking all those experiences and realizing, is that something that I want to use for me rather than just taking it on? So it's figuring all those pieces out. What do I still taking really every single one of your values and beliefs, you should be reevaluating and think, why do I believe that? Do I believe that because that really feels right with me now? Or do I believe it because I've been told it since I was 7 and that I've never really thought about it? And so we need to take all of these experiences from all these people that we've, experienced throughout our life and really stop and think, what values do I want to actually create for myself out of these experiences?
Okay. You're talking to me again. We're supposed to be talking about you and your purpose, but I'm sorry. You helping me, Miss Sabrina, because I'm just like, I've done that too recently. Like, why do I value the things that I value, and have created my own set of values in what I look for in a job, what I look for in a partner, what I look for in friendship, right? Like, I've had to create my own set of values. So most of it is based on what I was raised with. I believe that I was raised morally sound, but a lot of it, some of it has shifted, and having to mold that into the identity of who I am today is, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of
That's
work.
how you, that's how you create your true identity for sure. And it is a lot of work. It's hard. If it was
It is.
easy, everyone would be doing it.
Well, that's true. And you wouldn't have a job.
That's right.
If it was easy, we wouldn't need you or your book.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay, so back to you. So um the point of these episodes are people that are working their purpose within their occupation. And you said it is something that you can give or offer to the world based on your passions. So for you, what are your passions and what are you offering to the world?
So my passion is teaching.
Okay.
Ever since I was a little girl, probably even kindergarten, I was the kindergarten helper helping other kindergartners tying their shoes.
Yeah.
It's always been something I've loved doing. And yeah, I've always loved teaching, working with kids. And then I was a teacher, worked in the school system as a learning assistant teacher for about 20 years.
Mhm.
Towards the end of my career, I started as a school counselor. So then you're still teaching, but it's more kind of one-on-one and more in the mental health realm of things. And I went to a workshop that was presented by a man named Tony Martins. It was about suicide. And at the end of the 3-day workshop, I just thought, this is what I need to do. This is my new passion. So I kind of harassed him for about a year, and he finally agreed to teach me his model of therapy. And so I quit teaching and moved back to my hometown with my 2 boys and started my own private practice based on this model of therapy that he was kind of using in this workshop. And so the model of therapy basically says everything we do comes back to our core belief. And so for people, that core belief is feeling not good enough, not important, not valued, or good enough, important and valued. Now, no one's 100% one or the other. We're all a bit of a combination of both, but often we see people who grew up where there was trauma, there was instability, there was chaos in the home, they have anxiety, they have depression. Often that core belief, not good enough, is more significant. So the model says I'm constantly trying to prove to myself that what I believe about myself is true. So if my core belief is not good enough, I'm going to be drawn to people, experiences, behaviors, coping strategies that ultimately reinforce and support that negative core belief. If I try to use a more healthy coping strategy, I may do it for a while, but eventually it just kind of falls by the wayside because it's not balanced. We need balance. So if my core belief is not good enough, I need to be drawn, or I am going to be drawn to things that reinforce and support that core belief. So if I'm using a healthy coping strategy like going for a walk or exercising regularly, over time, that just kind of loses because it's now out of balance. And so I end up kind of going back to my old ways of doing things. So what we're really doing in the model of therapy that I practice is we're going back and figuring out, how did that core belief develop over your lifetime? And then what do we need to resolve in order to sort through and challenge that core belief so it becomes more and more good enough, important, and valued? And so since learning that model of therapy, that has absolutely been my passion 100%. Unfortunately, since about 10 months, 6 months into starting my practice, I've had a waiting list. Because when you're changing
Wow.
people's core beliefs, it's not 4 to 6 or 8 or 10 sessions. Most of my clients are with me, a year and a half or longer. So I go through my waiting list very slowly. And I hate having to turn people away and say, I'm sorry, I have a waiting list. So I decided to write a book. And that's where, with brand new purpose that I never had. I never in my life, ever in a million years, thought I would be an author. But knowing that I had this information that I could share with people and I could provide a resource for people around mental health, anxiety, and their core belief, I decided to write the book. So my purpose has kind of shifted. Still is with my clients for sure, but now it's also just trying to provide a resource for anyone out there who really wants to get a better understanding of their core belief, of their mental health, and getting some strategies to help them better manage and challenge those.
And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just absorbing everything that you're saying. And I know, again, I know this is not my own personal therapy session, but I'm like, this is so good. Because when you talked about like even when you use positive coping mechanisms, how when your core belief doesn't change, you're out of balance and you're out of whack. And because I was depressed for many years. Severely, I would say clinically, I never went to a doctor. I would say clinically depressed for about 4 months of that. And I was still doing all those things. I was still working out. I was still, like talking to my friends, all this kind of stuff. And when you said that, I was like, that makes sense. Because my core belief at that time during that season did not outweigh all the other stuff that I was doing. That's good, Mr. Burton. That is really good. So in this passion turned job, turned occupation, turned book, turned waiting list, congratulations. So don't call it, just buy the book of of clients. Like, what have you learned about like your own purpose and how what you're giving to the world? What does that do for you as a therapist?
Um, confidence,
Mm.
patience, acceptance. I would say
Wait,
those would be the biggest pieces.
so we're
Is
gonna.
just
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. So confidence, I just feel more confident about myself. I'm okay to have a voice. I don't feel like I need to run around and make everybody else happy. I'm not worrying about hurting someone's feelings. If I need to say something, I do it with respect and dignity, but I'm okay if someone else can't handle that or needs time to process that information. Patience, I don't get angry. I don't get upset. I just take things as they come. I have two adult sons now that are, 24 and 25. And I just have patience with them. And I have for years now. First few years of their life, unfortunately, not as much patience. But now I have had that patience, and it definitely has changed our relationship for sure. And then the last one, acceptance, is just realizing and understanding that everybody is on their own journey, and that's okay. It's not my job to change anyone or do anything different. I can provide opportunities, but it really is up to them to be where they're at. And some people are struggling, and that's just where they're at. That's their journey to figure out, and they are who they are.
Yeah, I love that because we talk about a lot on this podcast, the journey and how you learn along the way. Because even when you're talking about how you got to where you are now, it wasn't really necessarily a straight line, right? You went from
Mm-mm.
teaching your peers to teaching students to being a counselor to private practice to writing a book. So and when you were teaching your peers in kindergarten, you weren't thinking about writing a book. So we talk about the journey a lot, but can we talk more about the patience aspect? Because that's interesting. The other two, um, I understand, I grasp, like being confident in my purpose, because I believe that I'm there as well. Like I'm very sure of what I'm here to do on earth. And because I'm sure of that, there is a confidence that comes with that. There is a reassurance that comes with that. And the acceptance part, I also am good at, like, because I know what I'm here for, knowing that not everybody knows what they're here for. And I
Right.
was actually talking to my friend yesterday, just last night, and we were talking about how when people, I don't want to say act crazy, but that's all the words I got, act crazy or, do things. My first question is always, what happened to you? Like was it childhood? Did someone hurt you, or who happened to you? Or that's now where I am, and I've been there for a couple years now. I kind of just stare at people like I wonder what happened to them. So those two make sense to me, but the patience part, can you give me a little bit more on that?
So I think patience, the big piece that has allowed me to get to that piece of patience is around becoming better at being able to identify and feel my emotions and let them out
Hmm.
rather than suppressing them. The more we hold our emotions in, the harder it is to kind of manage things. And so then we often find that we're a bit more short-tempered, or we're not as patient, or we're really quick or abrupt, or, we just don't have as much tolerance. But the more you're able to sort through and let the emotions out, so you're not having to carry them as much, the more you're just able to be more calm and content. And anxiety, of course, is a really big one of that. Symptoms of anxiety is your brain going really fast where you can't shut it off. It's bouncing all over the place from thing to thing to thing to thing. Well, that doesn't feed patience. That does the opposite. And so the better we get at being able to just settle and we're not full of emotions, the more we're able to just be patient and just accept the moment as they come. And if there's challenging things that come up, I can just feel my emotions around that and then move on.
And so how has finding your purpose helped you develop this patience that you're describing, or
Well,
working in
I
your person purpose?
So doing the model of therapy that I practice, you got to do it yourself first.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I can't teach anyone how to have the core belief good enough, important, and valued if I don't have the core belief good enough and valued. So I had to go through, part of my training with Tony was going through my own life and looking at how did my core belief develop? What were the experiences that I went through? What do I need to do to challenge those? How much emotion am I really holding in and suppressing? And have I been holding in for a really long time? Because, in society, we're not taught how to feel our emotions. We're taught, suck it up, everything's going to be fine. Or, they just try to make us feel better so that we don't have to feel our emotions. And so to realize that, yeah, I've never really had an opportunity to really just feel my emotions, was really enlightening. It was a lot while I was going through it. It's not easy to sort through all those emotions when you haven't allowed yourself to feel it. But now I feel like they just come pretty fluidly to me, and I can just acknowledge, oh yeah, I know what I'm feeling now, and let it out and move on.
And so when you're working with clients, because that's a big deal, and that's so weird because everything that you're talking about are things that I've been working on like the last couple of years and like intensifying the last couple of months. And one of those things is feeling your feelings. And I often tell people that feelings are markers. Like, okay, this brought me sadness. So let me figure out why I am sad because of this thing. Or, oh, this thing makes me anxious. Let me figure out why I'm anxious surrounding this thing. Or this brought me joy, so I should keep doing it. So let me figure out how I can get joy in this space. And when working with clients, especially with anxiety, because anxiety is something I hate to claim it. So I experience anxiety from time to time. And that is something that I'm working through now, of like, even there are times where I just have to tell myself, breathe. Like I literally have to stop doing whatever I'm doing and just be like, breathe, girl, woman, you're going to be okay. So when working with your clients, like what is the pipeline? Because there's like a lot going on, right? From like no identity, anxiety type, to working in patience, to now you're working in your passion that you're offering to others. Like, how does that trajectory work while you're working with patients? Like, I can't, it's, I guess it's a year and a half, but how does that work?
Right. And the vast majority of those things that you just mentioned are more kind of the end, right? So it's it's very much a building block that we're building on, but we do start with anxiety. And so we look at anxiety from the perspective of that core belief. So anxiety is not, a lot of people think anxiety is about the trigger. It's not really about the trigger.
Oh, wow.
Anxiety is about my belief in my ability to handle the trigger. So if, let's say I have anxiety of test anxiety. Well, if it was really about tests, then every single person on the face of the earth would have test anxiety, but not everyone does. So it's not about tests. Anxiety is about my belief in my ability to handle tests. If I can believe I can handle writing tests, I'm not going to have anxiety. If I believe I can't handle writing tests, I'm going to have anxiety. So part of what we have to do is connect that back to, okay, my core belief is not good enough, so I don't believe in myself as much, so I'm going to have more anxiety. And so then what are the strategies I use to help me feel more confident in myself that I can handle doing these activities? And one of the first ones we talk about is breathe. When we breathe, we're shutting down that cortisol, slowing the cortisol that's getting dumped into our brain. It allows us to just settle and kind of go, okay, wait, can I handle this? You know what? Yeah, I can. And then I feel more confident in my ability to handle it, or I make a plan, whatever strategy, we want to use. So I feel more confident. As I feel more confident, the anxiety goes down. So the opposite of anxiety is confidence.
What?
How?
Hold on. Wait, I'm trying to. The opposite of anxiety is confidence. How? How? Because I
Well,
feel like I'm a confident person.
Well, and so I think part of that is that comfort zone, right? So every time we step outside of that comfort zone, I'm going to be doing something new, something I haven't done before. So I shouldn't be as confident in it as I am the things that are in my comfort zone. So when we try something new, we challenge ourselves, we are going to feel a bit more anxiety, but it's then realizing, okay, I'm feeling anxiety because I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm doing something a bit different, something I haven't done before. So I'm challenging myself to feel more confident in doing that thing, but I'm also creating more confidence in my belief in my ability to challenge my anxiety. So then I'm going to feel more confident in those things as well. So if we look at things where, you're, like you said, your anxiety is going up, if we actually look at what that is, chances are you're not as confident in that specific thing as you are in other aspects of your life where you don't have anxiety.
I'm gonna get on that waiting list. Because I'm thinking about the things that bring me the times where I experience anxiety. And it's usually when I have a long to-do list for the day. And I'm processing through, and I know this is not about me, but I'm just like, this is really helpful. Our listeners, y'all need to listen to this episode 2-3 times because this is so helpful. Because I'm like, okay, so when I get the most anxiety when I wake up and I know I have 5 meetings that day. Those are the days that I'm like, ugh. And I'm wondering, is it I'm not confident because it's a time thing for me. I don't like being late. I like being punctual. I like being prepared and punctual. So it's like, I have to be prepared for all these things.
Right. So you're not as confident that you're going to be able to manage those meetings as well as you would like to be able to manage them.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So then breathing lets you bring that down. And then, again, if anxiety is lack of confidence, not believing in myself that I can handle something, one of the really effective strategies is make a plan. Because when I have a plan for something, I'm going to feel way more confident in my ability to handle it. So taking, those 5 meetings and going, okay, what's my plan of how I'm going to do this? How do I get from A to B? Where do I fit my lunch in? Where am I going to put in some breathing activities so I can breathe before meetings? And you make a plan for how you're going to handle those 5 meetings, you'll almost instantly start to feel your anxiety come down because you're going to feel more confident of, okay, I got this. It's going to be a longer day, but I got it. I can handle it.
This is so good. And I do that. I do implement that.
Yeah.
Like even throughout my day, I might have to okay, mentally reschedule something or mentally, move something around, but that definitely does help me reduce my anxiety in the moment. But I think it's just, I just didn't realize that confidence is the opposite of anxiety. That is so good. Like that within itself, it is just so good. And I'm still processing all the things that make me anxious. And it's usually time-based. And I don't think I have enough time to clean my whole house before somebody comes over or do the 5 meetings or get from one side of town to the other. Mine is usually time-based. It's not really anything else. So okay, that's good. Okay. So when it comes to your purpose and what you give to the world, did you ever think like this is what I want to give to the world, or this is what I have to give to the world? Like, was there a sense of urgency? How did you get to the point where you're like, I have too many clients, I need to write a book, people need to hear that? Like, tell us that journey.
Well, it took me 7 years to write the book, so not too urgent.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a single mom with 2 kids working full time. And so the book was something that just when I had time, I'd pull it out and do some writing on it. And took 5 years of really just kind of putting it together piece by piece. And then I took a year and really just focused on it and did a final edit. And then I spent another year with the publisher getting it published and ready for print. So it was a process that happened, and it was just more of kind of just a natural progression. It was like, okay, now I'm feeling, and I was like this as a teacher too. I would teach, I was a learning assistant teacher. Up in Canada, there's often a lot of cutbacks and stuff in the education system. So as a learning assistant teacher, I would be a learning assistant teacher and whatever else to fill my time. So sometimes I was teaching kindergarten prep, sometimes I was teaching grade 9 science, sometimes I was teaching grade 6 life skills and sexual education. I was all over the place and I liked it. And I found that after 3 years of doing the same thing, kind of get a bit bored. First year is just learning. Second year is redefining. Third year is, okay, we got it. It's going smoothly. And then I just felt like I needed something else. And I think with my private practice agency, it was kind of the same thing where it took me several years to really get into the swing of things, know what's going on, feel really confident in what I was doing. And so then it was just kind of this natural progression of, okay, well, now what? How can I challenge myself to do something different? And so then the book kind of came into fruition. And so I thought writing the book was going to be the challenge, but now I've got a new challenge with all the social media and the creating posts and all the tech stuff that comes with trying to promote my book. I was a teacher for 20 years, didn't need to market.
Right.
I was my own private practice. I had a waiting list after 6 months, didn't need to do any marketing. Now I've got this book and I need to market it. So that's my new kind of push now, is really learning more about the social media aspect, the marketing aspect of it. So still learning. I always say I'm fighting Alzheimer's because I'm always learning new things.
You got to keep your brain moving.
That's right. Absolutely.
So when you talk about, because I often know that within our occupations and all these things, there are parts that we don't really understand or we don't know, and they're no less part of our purpose. So how did you mentally get over the like, oh, I don't know how to do this. This is a new challenge, but I have to do it. Like, talk us through that process of, because I don't like social media either, but who's gonna know about the podcast if I don't tell them about it, right? So
Right.
like, how did you get to, okay, this is my new hurdle. This is just a part of the process. Let me figure it out.
So I think when I went from teaching to my own private practice, I had Tony Martins taught me this model of therapy, and he was amazing. He gave me so many hours of clinical supervision. Any question, he was such a support. Like I never really felt like I was alone. He was 1,200 kilometers, which is like 700 miles
Mhm.
about away in Vancouver, and I'm up in northern BC. But I always felt like he was almost kind of right there with me. So he was a huge support, and I really felt like I could handle anything because I knew I had him to back me up. When it came to going to the social media, I don't know if unconsciously my brain was planning ahead of time. I didn't think it was, but I wonder. My son plays junior hockey, and so I was working on the executive as a volunteer, and I thought, oh, I'll do the social media. So I started doing the social media for his hockey team. So for 2 years before my book came out, I was learning and figuring things out and figuring out how to use Canva and
Mhm.
cap cuts and all those different things to kind of splice and put together videos. And so then when my book came out, I was already at a level where I felt more confident, but it's still a huge learning curve. But I definitely feel like I have a good foundation from the work I did with his hockey organization.
Oh, that's good. That I tell my clients to volunteer. And I always say volunteering. So in my other business, I help people find purpose. In my other business, I help people pursue their dreams, their goals, and ideas. And in that business, I always tell people to volunteer because you never know what experience you'll get. You'll never know who you get to talk to. And that's like a perfect example of that, like how volunteering helped you with your purpose and helped you move seamlessly, even though it's still a challenge, it's seamlessly um to what you needed to be doing to help other people, to offer things to someone else. And one of the other things that I talk about is just because it's hard, it doesn't mean it's not a part of your purpose. So is that how you tackle the things that are challenging or hard or whatever? Like how do you even, because I know it's
Uh-uh.
not just social media, like even writing the book, like how do you even teach clients? Like I know it's hard, but you still got to do it.
Right. Hard is growth.
Mm,
right? If it's easy, I mean, easy is okay. We need to do that from time to time. But if everything's easy, there's no growth, there's no change, there's nothing new is happening. So every time something gets hard or gets more challenging, that's a good thing because it means I'm learning something new. I'm having to figure out something in a different way from what I figured it out before. That's growth. That's good. And we want to, again, balance, right? So what I say to my clients is, yeah, when things are going smooth, appreciate them, but also know that we're going to come to a place where it's like, okay, now we've practiced that enough. Now we need to go up that next level. This is going to be hard. I'm going to be challenging you to think differently, to understand things differently, to feel your emotions in a different way. And that's hard, but that's the only way you get to that next step. And then you practice that for a while, and then you get to the next step, and so on and so on and so forth. But yeah, life is hard. It's the way it is. And if you embrace that, there are amazing learning opportunities for us.
So you help people build resilience. That's what I hear.
For sure. Yes.
Like you have to have, you help people build resilience. And how did you build that in your own life to even get here? Because you moved from being in a school system to being an entrepreneur. And you had to go through this process of your own self. What is the verbiage you use? I want to use the verbiage you use. Self-worth, what do you say?
For what?
Like, I'm not good enough, I am good enough. Like, what's the word
that
you use?
Oh, the core belief.
Core beliefs. There we go.
Yes,
so
there we go.
I was like, I want to use the word that you use. So you had to do that for yourself. I forgot my question. I apologize. It was something about the challenge of and the building resilience of being in a stable work environment, having a steady paycheck, to challenging your own core beliefs and becoming an entrepreneur. What was that like for you?
So I think a little bit of blind faith. I think if I would have known what it looked like after, I don't know if I would have done it as much, but there was definitely a bit of that. One of my biggest idols is probably my dad. Growing up, he always volunteered and taught us the importance of volunteering. He was a chartered accountant, ran his own agency with some other partners. So the idea of having my own business wasn't totally foreign to me. I grew up with my dad kind of doing that and learning kind of the ins and outs, and him working really late because he had to, provide for my family, but also for his staff. He had to make sure there was work for them and stuff. So I had a bit of an idea of what it would be like to start my own business and run my own business. And I just, this model of therapy just spoke to me so significantly that I knew if I could get it out there, it would speak to other people as well. So I wasn't concerned about not getting clientele because I knew that once people heard what I had to say, they would understand and they'd want to kind of keep learning more for sure.
Oh, that's good. So there was no anxiety for you, because that sounds like a lot of confidence.
Yes, there was.
Really? It sounds like a lot of confidence.
Sure. Well, it was, but there's also anxiety that comes up with it as well, for sure. It's, it was a bit, I definitely was confident enough to take the risk and do it, but the doing it, a lot of that did create some anxiety for sure. Yeah.
Of like, am I doing it right? Am I
going to be able to financially provide for my boys and I and pay rent for my apartment or my office space? And am I doing what's right for my clients? Am I helping them? Am I doing anything that's going to be of harm to my clients? How do I find balance? Because my priority is my family. And so how do I balance my family with my workload and my need for clients so I can provide for my family? So there was a lot of anxiety, intrepidation, maybe even around just trying to figure out how do you keep that all balanced? And it definitely was a work in progress for sure.
But you got there. And people need to hear that, because a lot of people that listen to the podcast don't think they can get there, but you did. Yeah. You got there and I'm glad you said that, because I'm telling you, it sounded like full confidence on this side. I was like, wow, she quit her job and she started a business and it worked out. Like that's what I heard from your original explanation. But no, okay, there was anxiety because you do have
For
mouths to
sure.
feed and you do have whatever you got going on in life. But you work through it. Oh, what were you
Right.
about to say?
Well, I was just going to say, again, that anxiety piece with confidence, not believing in myself, I can handle something. I, like in the back of my head, I knew if this flops, if it doesn't work, I can go back to teaching.
Mm,
Maybe
mhm.
I end up in debt, but I'm young enough, I have time to pay it off. So those what if thoughts that I had, I would find solutions to them.
Oh, that's
So what
good.
if, right? And that's one of the big things I talk with my clients about is they have these what if thoughts, and the what if thoughts often just spin and spin. We don't do anything about them. If you actually take them, write them down on a piece of paper and think, okay, if this actually happens, what am I going to do? How do I solve this? We realize, no, we can handle it. We are way more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. And chances are, to any of the listeners, if you wrote down your worry thoughts, your what if thoughts, 95% of them you would be able to handle like that. You wouldn't even think twice about them. So what if this doesn't work? Be like, okay, well, so what if it doesn't work? Well, I'm a teacher. There's always jobs I can TOC if nothing else until I find a job. Okay, well, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Well, what if I end up with debt? Okay, well, when I started this, I was 40. I've got lots of time to pay off debt if I end up in debt. Okay, so I don't have to worry about that. So then the anxiety would go away. So when I have those what if thoughts, one of the first things I would do is, okay, so what do I do if that happens? What's my plan? Once I make a plan on how I would handle it, the anxiety goes down significantly.
That is so good. Because that answering those questions gives you more confidence.
Absolutely.
Because I now have, I have a net. I don't know. I have whatever this is,
Yeah.
whatever motion I'm
A
making,
plan.
a
Yeah, I
plan,
have
but like
plan. Yeah,
a solid ground. That's it. That's what
that's
I'm trying to say.
yeah,
You have a solid ground that you can land on while you're trying to take flight. Right? Like
that's right.
so if something does happen, you understand that the ground is going to catch you and it's going to be a soft landing because you've created that plan. That's good. That is so good. Okay, the what is because I often ask people like, well, what if it doesn't work out? I always ask like, what if it does? But I like your approach because my approach can seem more dismissive, even though I'm not trying to be dismissive. But your approach is like, let's have a conversation about the thing you're worried about.
Right,
And let's
exactly.
figure out how to
Right,
work through it. Oh, that's
right.
good. Oh, that's
Someone
good.
says, don't worry about it. We don't just go, oh, okay. Nah, it still spins there. So we need to actually take that thought and solve it. Okay, so what if this happens? What do we do?
So good.
Even going to the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario of what would happen? Because chances are we would still even handle the worst case scenario. So if I can handle the worst case scenario, I can handle any other scenario that would happen there.
Okay, so here's a question that popped into my head. So if I'm going through this worst case scenario, I'm trying to connect this to my core belief about myself. So is this connecting in a way that says I I am confident in the fact that I can handle it? Is that the part that helps reduce anxiety? And how does it then affect my core belief, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How does my core
Good.
belief fit into
Good
this?
question. So every time I challenge my anxiety, I build confidence. I'm building that core belief good enough, important, and valued. So the more confident I feel, the more I feel like I am good enough, like I am important, like I am valued. Other people don't have to value me. I'm okay with that because I value myself.
Yes.
And I'm okay to put boundaries in place with those people so that it's not having an impact on my life. Feeling good
Yes.
enough, important, and valued isn't what you need from outside people. That's what you have to create and develop within yourself.
Yes. And if I challenge, yes. This is good. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. I
So if
get
I
that
can
now.
handle, if I can create a plan for my worst case scenario, so, we could say, well, and a lot of people go to the worst case scenario. So if I look at the worst case scenario and just focus on that, yeah, I'm reinforcing that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued. But if I take that worst case scenario and say, okay, what's my plan to solve it? Now I found a solution. Now I'm developing that core belief, good enough, important, and valued, and building confidence. So it's
That
just
makes
taking
sense.
it to that next step. We often
And
just
not
get stuck
stopping
in
there.
that's right. But if my core belief is not good enough, not important, not valued, I'm going to stay stuck in the thing that reinforces that. That's the what if thought, spinning, 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 spinning.
That's good. I'm just processing everything you're saying because that is so good that I have to believe that I'm good enough, valuable enough to even get past my worst case scenario, to even want to even build the resilience, to even see that there's something on the other side. I have to believe that I'm good enough. That's good.
Right. And as that good enough continues to develop and the confidence continues to develop, those what if scenarios don't happen as much. Because no matter what comes up, if you believe I can handle it, what do you have to worry about?
That's good. That's really good. Cause I don't, yeah. And I again I feel like I'm a confident person, but you told me it's the opposite of anxiety. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to reflect on that. But I believe I'm confident because I have like this blind, like, if they could do it, I can do it. That's like I legit people who've heard my podcast and listened to other episodes know that like I legit believe that I can beat anybody in a race. I can like I'm going to win the boxing match. Like I really believe these things. And it's like, but because those things aren't real, you know what I'm saying? Like those aren't real scenarios in my life. I wonder how they translate because I'm trying to figure out where the anxiety comes from, right? Like,
Right.
because I don't actually have to race these people. These are just
Right.
people in my head, you know. I don't have to actually fight or box this person. These are people in my head. So I wonder, like, does that fake scenario not translate to my real life? And that's where the anxiety comes from. And my anxiety's gotten a lot better. I feel like I need to say that. I don't know why I feel like I need to say that. It's gotten a lot better, but I wonder if that's
Well, I
what
think
it is.
even having depression feeds into anxiety
Mm,
because when you have depression, so anxiety and depression work in a cycle together because anxiety is that on edge, fight, flight, freeze, anxious,
mm-hmm.
tense body. Well, you can only do that for so long, and then you kind of crash and burn and go into a bit of a depression. And so then the depression, you kind of regroup, kind of build yourself a bit, and then you go, and then the depression starts again. So anxiety and depression work together in a cycle. But if you have depression, it's scary. And so then you wake up and you feel a little sad and you think, oh, is it coming back? And so all those little thoughts where you worry about that coming back, is it going to happen again? Same with people who have chronic illness like diabetes. I sneeze, I think, oh my goodness, I'm going to get a cough, I'm going to get a cold, I'm going to get sick, my sugars are going to be all out of whack, I'm going to have to go to the hospital. That's anxiety. And so people who often have depression often have some more anxiety because they're more heightened to the awareness of, I don't want that depression to come back. And so it creates more anxiety. And nobody's 100% confident or 100% the other. We all have, it ebbs and flows for sure. So what you want to do is kind of figure out, okay, I'm confident in these areas, but what are the piles over on the other side that maybe I distract from by saying, I'm really confident with this stuff over here, but maybe not as confident in these areas over here.
Why we
We all
gotta
have
touch
areas we have
it?
to work on.
We don't have to touch those though. Why did you even go over there? We can leave those right where they are.
No,
We,
no, no. We got to go back and dig those ones up and build confidence in those areas too.
no, we don't. We don't have
That
to. Huh?
that's what I do with my clients is help them find what are those areas? What are those holes that we're missing? And how do we go back and fill those holes with confidence?
So here's a question. That's a good question. So one of the things that I'm not good at, my writing skills are not as good as my verbal skills. And I have a lot, I don't want to claim that I can experience anxiety around my writing skills, but not. So put me in front of a crowd of 1,000 people, I won't sweat. Tell me to write a 10-page paper, I'm freaking out, right? So how do you, because I know that, right? And I understand that that is not my strong suit. Does that necessarily mean I have to lack confidence in that area? You know what I'm saying? Like, because strengths and weaknesses are those associated with confidence and lack of confidence? I think that's the question. Because I'm like, I know that about myself. So does that necessarily mean I'm not confident? Just because I know that that's not.
Well,
This is turned
so
into a therapy
do
session.
you feel like you are as confident in writing as you are in speaking in public?
Absolutely not.
So you're not as confident.
But in my head, I just assumed it was a weakness that I have come to terms with is a weakness. I don't.
Right. And then you're not going to be as confident in it. So it can be something where you just accept, you know what? My writing is my writing. It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. But then it shouldn't create as much of that anxiety. So if we look at the anxiety in
Oh.
that, we could say, which core belief is being triggered there? Feeling not good enough, not important, not valued. So when you're writing and you feel like your writing skills aren't where your verbal skills are, likely that not good enough is coming up a little bit. And so that's that core belief that's coming up rather than going, I am good enough. I'm not as good a writer as I am a speaker, and that's okay. Now I don't have to have anxiety. I just write, and what comes out comes out. Or I say, I want to improve on my writing skills, so I'm going to start journaling or writing more and work on improving my writing skills. And then I'm going to feel more good enough in both of those scenarios. So it's not actually about the writing skills. It's about what you believe about yourself in the writing skills that creates that confidence or that core belief not good enough.
Okay. That is just processing. I Yep. Now I have to go journal. That's fine. That is no, but that's really wow. I'm sorry. I'm having a revelation on the
No,
podcast
good. That's
episode.
why
Like,
I want to
no,
do this.
that is so good because I I consider myself pretty self-aware, so I'm aware of my weaknesses, but I don't think I went the step further, and not just that one, just a lot of them. I don't think I went the step further to say, okay, but how do you make yourself more confident in an area of weakness? Like that
Right.
doesn't even make sense to me right now. Like, why would in my head I want to say, why would I even do that? You know you're not good at it. So that's like when you said, I'm like, why are we touching the things we know we're not good? That doesn't make sense. But I get what you're saying now. I get
And
what
I
you're
would say
saying
you've
now.
already been doing it. Like you're not the confident speaker that you are now the first time you started speaking when you were back young. You could have
Right.
given up on it, but you didn't. You kept working on it, right? Probably because it was more your purpose or your passion. And so you got better and better and better at it. You just have to do that with the other aspects of your area areas that you're not as strong in. You're already doing it. You don't have to do anything new. Just have to apply it to other areas.
Man, thank you. Thank you. Like I'm really like having like an epiphany right now. Okay, that's good because I'm thinking about all the other areas that are more near and dear to me. That I'm like, dang, like I really do need to figure that out and work on the confidence area, not necessarily because I think what I'm hearing you say, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it doesn't have to become my strength, but that doesn't mean I have to have anxiety around it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
that's good. Oh, that's good. Okay, Miss Brittany, that's good. Okay. So succinctly, I like to ask, like, if someone were to ask you, what is your purpose? Because we heard your definition, right? Something you give or offer to the world based on your passions. But if somebody would say, hey, Miss Sabrina, what is your purpose? What would you say?
I think kind of almost like what we're doing here. helping people get those light bulb moments.
Ooh, that's good.
Being able to challenge someone or say something in a way where they go, oh man, I never thought of it like that before. That I love that. That is the highlight of my days at work for sure, is when I can help people see things in a way that they never really saw it before.
Oh, that's good. Helping people have their light bulb moments. That is good. That's not my purpose, but I wish it, I'm gonna say that. I don't know how, when I'm gonna incorporate that in my life, but I'm gonna say that. That's good. I help people. And I love that because one of the things that I talk about on this podcast is a lot is that this thing, helping people get their light bulb moments, looks different in different ages, excuse me, different stages of your life. So when you were a teacher, right, that's all you did all day was help students have their light bulb moment. When you move to school counseling, you help people get their light bulb moment. In your private practice, you help people get their light bulb moment. In your book that y'all should, now we all about to buy it. Y'all need to buy it, I need to buy it, everybody need to buy it. In your book, you're helping people get their light bulb moments. On the podcast today, right? So like that purpose shows itself, manifests itself in different ways throughout your life. And I love seeing and hearing that like in person. I love that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Thank you. I love that.
Good.
So I'm gonna ask our last culminating question, which is always if people get nothing else from this episode, they've listened to us for 50 odd minutes and they're like, I don't really know what those two ladies were talking about. What do you want them to leave this episode knowing?
If they want to do something, they can do it. Start small. Often people with anxiety, we want to take giant leaps and take these big steps. Start really, really small, baby steps. Little tiny steps over time make into great big steps. So if there's something you want to do, try it. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. Okay. But you've built confidence in trying. So if we look at how do you build confidence? Well, you build confidence by trying and doing something. You build even more confidence by trying, failing, and getting back up and trying again.
That's great.
And so if you step outside of your comfort zone, you try something new, even if you fail, you're still building confidence in yourself that you can handle failure because you'll get through it.
That's
so
good.
try it, take a risk.
And I often tell people when I work with my clients, I'm like, don't even think about it as a failure. Think about it as an experiment. Like when you try something that doesn't work, what do you do in the lab? You try something, you try something else, you try something else, and you keep trying until it works, right? Like it's the same, that's it. I tell people, you're just experimenting. Don't, just see what happens and we'll go from there. I love that. If you want to try something, just do it. And thank you, Miss Sabrina. This has been a good episode for me. I don't know about nobody listening, but for me, a good episode. And I now have different journaling points that I need to go work through within myself and call my friends and help me walk through these things. So I love it. Thank you so much for being on this episode. And where can people find you? How do they get in contact with you? Where do they buy the book? All those types of things.
Sure. So my website is trobakholistic.org. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is Trobak Holistic Counseling. I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is NGE for not good enough. So NGE_Trobak, TROBAK. And then I just started TikTok. I'm not a big, it's my new learning curve. And my handle on TikTok is NGE_core_belief.
Okay. All right. And we'll have all that stuff in the show.
And my book is available on Amazon.
All right. And we'll have all that stuff in the show notes. So you can just click it and you will be able to find Miss Sabrina. Thank you so much for being here on this episode.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
This is so good. I really know that the listeners will be blessed by the things that you said today. I firmly believe it. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to you all for listening to another episode of the Purpose Podcast of Dr. Jazz. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all those good things. See y'all later. Bye.
And I've been shaking. Not many more twists and turns before I find the road. And I've been hoping